Workington Academy Radio presents Behind the Algorithm. Hello and welcome to Behind the Algorithm, a podcast in which us here at Workington Academy Radio will be diving into social media and the impacts it has on children and their mental health. It is now the second episode of the series. Last time we interviewed our local MP, Josh McAllister, and now we have Will Gardner OBE, CEO of Childnet. Hello, Will.
Hi, guys. Hi, great to be with you.
Great to be with you. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do, please?
Sure. So Childnet's a children's charity. We've been around for 30 years, and our mission is to work with others to help make the internet be a great and safe place for children. And we work in schools, directly in schools with children and young people, even preschools, working with children from as young as 3 up until the age of 18, working to make sure they've got the information and skills they need to make good decisions whenever and wherever they're using technology.
Well, it sounds like you're the right person to speak to for this.
Yes. Right. Will, for anyone listening who might not know Childnet, what problem does your organisation exist to solve, and why is it more urgent now than it was 10 years ago?
So, technology provides incredible opportunities for children and young people to connect and create and discover, but there are risks, and there are risks that young people face of all ages, and this is where we come into play in working to help make sure there's awareness of those risks and people know how to manage those risks. We're at the stage where it's difficult to remove risk online, but we need to make sure that we can manage the risk that young people come across when they come across it, and we work in that space. And absolutely we try to make sure that we're listening to children and young people on that journey. I think it's very easy to think of online safety as something you do to young people, but we try to actually work alongside young people when we talk about this topic.
That's a very important way of thinking about it. And when I was going to ask you, a lot of people hear the word algorithm, but do not really understand it. In simple terms, how do algorithms shape what young people see online every day?
So algorithm, perhaps some people call it like a recommender system, and you can see it on a whole wide range of different services. You see it on social media, where it's the decisions that are made in the background to determine what you're going to see next as you're scrolling, and that is based upon the decisions that you've made already on that platform. So what you've interacted with, what you've liked, what you've watched will impact on what you're most likely to see. It happens on social media, but it happens on streaming services like Netflix, for example.
Yeah, Ollie, next question, please.
From Childnet's research, what is the biggest risk that algorithms create for young people?
Well, I mean, we haven't done specific research on algorithms and the risks that they provide, but I think thinking about it now, there are real risks in relation to algorithms if they are serving you up content which is harmful, and it can be that the profile that you present can lead you to come across more and more harmful content. And there was a study out a couple of years ago where it said that for boys, within a period of time, you would be fed misogynistic content, and so there are some issues that we absolutely need to make sure that we're working to resolve here, that people aren't being pushed into more extreme content which is harmful for children and young people. I think there's a broader societal risk in relation to algorithms where it can serve you what you want to see, but it doesn't expose you to wider views and viewpoints, and so it's been called like a bubble, if you like. You get a very narrow view of the world around you.
Do you think the biggest harm comes from time spent online or from what young people are shown on while they're online?
Well, I think it's difficult to separate those two things out. I mean, when I was talking about algorithms, I didn't talk about the risk of helping keep the eyes on the algorithm, if you like, because absolutely that is a part of the rationale as to why people are looking at content for so long. In terms of screen time as a word, it's more important to think about what young people are doing on a screen rather than just judging it by the amount of time that they are looking at a screen, because much of your schoolwork might involve screens. There's lots of different screen activity that you can be doing beyond social media and beyond algorithms. If your time is exclusively spent scrolling, doom scrolling as a phrase, then clearly that's potentially harmful if it has an impact on other areas of your life, or if it means that you're seeing content which is not good for you to see.
I mean, you say about good stuff you can do on your phones or on your screens. We've got lots of homework places that we do our homework and our schoolwork on. Lots of places where we do like maths on Sparks and Educake and stuff like that, which is very helpful for our learning as well. Now moving on to something that's going on in the world at the minute. Some countries are moving towards banning social media for under 16s. From Childnet's perspective, what are the potential benefits and unintended consequences of that approach?
So this is in the news right now. There's going to be a consultation about a ban. It's not the only thing that people have been consulted on, but the end goal is around to try and help make online spaces be safer for children and young people. And I'm completely aligned with the goal of where we want to get to, but I'm not convinced that the ban is the way we need to go in order to achieve it. I see that it's quite a complex area, online safety, with lots of different facets to it, and I just sense a ban is not the solution to the problem that we have. I think there's other ways in which we need to be working to try and help shape these environments so they are better for children. In a way, I kind of see a ban as like a failure of regulatory policy of the laws which are upon social media companies to make their services better for children. I almost feel that sometimes you can look at it as punishing children for the failure of the tech companies to make their services safe.
Well, when we interviewed Josh McAllister, he said basically the opposite of you. He said that it was pleased that the government brought a potential ban to the table, and he thought that education to help people be safer online would maybe be a smaller part than an initial ban.
I think education is absolutely key here. So I will agree with him to a degree. I guess he says it a smaller part. I will say it's a bigger part in this. Whether you have a ban or you don't have a ban, we need to be equipping young people to know how to stay safe online. Social media is a big part of young people's online experience, but it's not the only part of young people's online experience. You can think about games, you think about AI, you think about a whole wide range of other ways that young people interact with technology, and we have to be equipping them to use technology safely and responsibly. So I say, whether you're ban or not pro-ban, education is absolutely key. So I think it's okay for us to have different opinions, and I'm not saying that the view about bans is wrong. I think there are some valid reasons why people would want to push in that direction. But the view that I have is I don't think that that's going to be the solution that people think it's going to be in order to keep kids safe online.
Okay, so who do you believe holds the most responsibility for online safety?
Well, it's a little bit of everybody, I'm afraid. So social media companies have a clear responsibility. They've got a legal duty of care to look after the users of their services. There was an Online Safety Act that was passed a couple of years ago, which is still coming into force. And there is an independent body called Ofcom that is checking to see that the social media companies are looking after their young users of these services by having systems in place to help make sure that young people are safe. So we've got this moment where we have an independent body checking on social media services. That is a new step, and that's a very significant step, and we are really supportive of that. So the tech companies have got a role, Ofcom have got a role, government have got a role to make sure that this is working properly, but then we all have a role. Parents and carers have got a key role in this space, because we know that if children have a problem online, they are most likely to come and talk to their parent or carer. So they have a role within this environment too. And whether there's a ban or not a ban, parents and carers do have some options within this space to help manage their child's online experience through tools that are available to them. And we would absolutely be encouraging them to have regular conversations with their child about life online.
If you could change one thing about social media platforms for young people, what would it be?
Only one thing. That's
difficult decision.
That's a really tough decision. Well, I would like them to design their services with children in mind, and there's a lot that falls out of that. But ultimately, that's what I want them to do. And so these services, which were not designed for children, they were just designed for the mass market, could have a greater reflection of the needs of children and young people. That's what I would want.
Yeah, so some companies could take more accountability and responsibility for maybe taking children using social media into consideration and designing that as an integration into the app.
Absolutely, and people call that safety by design, and so they build it up with that in mind. You know, safety shouldn't be something you add on at the end when people get hurt. It should be something that you build in from the beginning to prevent that hurt from happening.
What skills do you think young people need to be taught so they can safely navigate social media as adults, not just as children?
I think that's a really good point about including adults here, because the issues that we're talking about with social media are definitely relevant for children and young people, even in terms of the amount of time that people are spending online and using these services. It's not just children who find these services sticky, it's adults too. I think one of the main important things, if you're trying to reduce it to just a one or two, would be critical thinking. It's almost like a social media literacy. And so you can be have a critical view, not just in terms of the content that you're seeing, but also the contacts that you might be making within these environments. Because ultimately, it is critical thinking which is going to help you as you navigate the risks that you might come across.
Yeah. So, what roles should schools play in online safety education? Should they do more of it? And where should their responsibility end?
Schools have got a huge part to play, and many schools are doing work in this space, both in primary schools and in secondary schools. They have a real clear job in helping talk about this as a topic with children and young people. And we know that young people do want to talk about this topic more. And also we know from young people that they want more voice within this education, because sometimes the surveys that we've done, young people have said we really value talking about online safety within our school, but it doesn't always talk about the things that we're most worried about. And so we would really want to be encouraging schools to allow moments where young people's voice can be heard. So we are addressing the things which young people want to be addressed within that space. There are requirements in the curriculum which mean that schools have to address these topics, but schools also have a broader community function. We know that parents and carers, if they were going to get advice around online safety, the voice that they would trust most is their school. And there's a real opportunity for schools to help support parents and carers and to try and get some consistency in how young people are supported within these online spaces. And it is difficult for schools, because many of the problems that might arise might happen while the young person's at home, not at the school. But there will be an impact of what happens at home on the life of the child within the school community too. So there's schools have got a difficult job and an important job, both in education for children and young people and providing support for children and young people, but also helping to provide an educational avenue to parents and carers.
Well, that's kind of one of our goals with this podcast, to get inside of our school people interested in learning about social media and how to stay safe and that, and not just on social media but on the phones, because there's lots of different things you can do that could also hurt you on your phones. Talking more about phones in particular, what would you say is your opinion on phones being used in school and for educational purposes?
Well, it's that is another hot topic that you're picking up on here, and there's lots of language about bans of mobile phones within the school environment. Most schools have restrictions on phone use. I don't know what it's like in your school. I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Yeah,
I hope you're going to tell me.
Yeah, we've got they're very quite strict on phones. If it's on show, it's got to go. That's what they say about it. Charlie, you don't have your phone on you this time, do you?
No, I actually don't. I put it in my
Because
bag.
last time when we interviewed Josh McAllister, he said it was lucky it was after 3 and on a Friday because he would have had to confiscate his phone.
Yeah.
But there's get your phone taken off you, and it goes into like the main office in a safe, and you have to get it back either if your parents come in on a Friday. So it's very strict on how much we use our phones. And we used to be able to do like Kahoots and quizzes and in class, just like for educational stuff, but now they've clamped down on that as well, and there's less of like quizzes and stuff happening on your phones and stuff as well.
It was just too easy to go on something else without the teacher noticing.
Does that mean you've been doing that, Charlie?
It doesn't. I always work on my laptop, don't I?
Oh yeah, you do.
Okay, that's very revealing as to what happens in the classroom. I can see that it can be a distraction in the classroom. Of course I can, and I can see that having restrictions at a school is a good idea. But how schools manage that is a question, and schools is something that they're dealing with already, and there's a lot of parental pressure on schools to take a particular approach. But there's also parental pressure for young people to have phones so they can be in contact with their child after school for pickups or whatever that might be. So it's a difficult area to navigate, but I can see the idea of restrictions in schools is a good idea, and I think I prefer that word to bans, because I think it allows more flexibility for the school to find the right solution for itself.
When you're talking about people getting in touch with the parents and stuff, that leads nicely on to my next question. We asked Josh McAllister what he would define as social media, if it would be WhatsApp social media or messages, or because we linked it to that Snapchat, he said Snapchat would be. What are your thoughts on defining social media?
That's a really good question, and in Australia, you will have seen that they've introduced the social media ban, or they prefer, rather than calling it a ban, they call like a postponement or a delay of social media until the child turns 16. And then their list, they've got TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and the services that you would expect to see. But WhatsApp isn't in that group, and Discord is not in that group, and there comes a point where a line needs to be drawn. Snap is included in that group, but some people might describe Snap as a messaging service rather than a social media, and it depends. It kind of depends how you use it, I guess, to some degree. I think that's one of the issues which I struggle with the social media ban in a way, in that if you can't have a TikTok account or a YouTube account in Australia, which is the rule as it is at the moment, you are still able to access TikTok and access YouTube. So you're still able to engage with that content. Obviously, you won't get the algorithm capturing your choices over time because you haven't got an account in that way. So it will be slightly different, but you can still, some of the concerns that people have with social media will still remain. So I think it's quite difficult to define in that sense. However, having said that, if you look at the Online Safety Act, there is a kind of definition as to what social media within that space is. And now you're going to test me because I need to know exactly what that definition is. It's kind of where as user-to-user content is able to be shared. I think is kind of the line that they take. But again, it's one of those things which is difficult to define.
When looking on your own online habits, is there anything that makes you reflect on how powerful these platforms are?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really interesting on that, where adults as well as children, like I said before, find this technology sticky, and it's not just social media, but social media is very sticky in the way that it's there. It draws your attention in. The smartphone is a very attention-grabbing device. We did a very nice interview with some young people in year 6, and we asked them, would you like more screen time or would you like less screen time? And they were very wise, and that but I would say about half of them said, well, I'd like more screen time because my parents don't, and half said, actually I would like less screen time because I should be doing other things. But then when we said, what about your parents? Would you like them to have more screen time or less screen time? And 100% of the children said, my parents, they really need parental controls. They say they're doing email, but I know they're not. So I think this is an issue which is absolutely relevant for all of us. And sometimes when we just look at children and talk about this topic, I don't think it's entirely fair when all of our behaviour in relation to this technology is absolutely valid for discussion about how do we handle this technology in the best way.
Well, when Josh was talking to us, a question came up that he actually asked us, which was, if you had only 1 hour of your life back, taken away from the time you spent on your phone or on social media, what would you do? And it's kind of made us think a bit about, like, what actually would we do? Social media has took over so many young people's lives. You need to kind of think about what they're missing out on in the real world, in their actual life from social media.
I think I'm intrigued to know what you said as an answer to that question.
Ollie said homework to start off with.
I did.
Very big thing. Charlie, what were you thinking about with that?
Probably just on my Xbox.
Take away your Xbox.
That's not very
What
good.
what else would you do?
Maybe I would say schoolwork.
Yeah, schoolwork is definitely something that engrosses stuff, but there's other things.
Charlie, I didn't hear what you said there. I wonder if you might want to check the
Can you hear me?
mic. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
working.
I said schoolwork.
Schoolwork. Okay. I think one thing we do need to think about, if the idea is to take social media, take it off the table for children who are aged 13, 14 and 15, and people might not think that 13 is the right age for young people to use technology, is that what are we going to do? What are we going to offer young people instead? I think it's to make it seem less like a punishment but more like an opportunity. What are we going to put on the table? Because if people then start using Xboxes more, have we addressed the issue that we really wanted to address?
Not really, because there's issues that come up on social media that could come up on your Xbox and your PlayStation, and when you're playing online with people. And it's just, you need to kind of look at that and think, what can we actually do to stop these bad things happening fully, not just on social media.
Yes.
Right, Ollie, next question please.
If you were speaking directly to young people listening to this podcast, what is one piece of advice you would give to them about social media and algorithms?
I'm a great believer in young people's voice in this space. So my advice would be to encourage young people to share what it is that they are doing and what they're hearing when they're using social media. We had a keynote speech once given by a 14-year-old, and he said that every generation's experience of youth is different, and ours is framed by social media. And I think he brilliantly articulated why young people's voice is so important in our discussions around social media use, because young people's experience is not the same as older people's experience. Your experience of social media might not be the same as each other's. It's really important we get to hear from young people on this topic, and that's within your school community, with your parents and carers. But I also think that voice, young people's voice, you need to, if something doesn't seem right or if you're worried about something, I'd really want to encourage you to speak up and to tell someone. That would be my key piece of advice that I'd want to share with young people.
That is a really important message. And it seems that we're going to be wrapping up soon. So we're going to ask you the most important question. We always ask everybody we interview this on a serious note. What is your favourite type of cheese?
Well, it's Wensleydale.
Wensleydale. There you have it. Will Gardner, OBE, CEO of Childnet's favourite type of cheese is Wensleydale.
Didn't want to think about it, really, did he?
No, just right into it.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
That's it.
Well,
Yeah.
Will, thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it. That has been us here at Workington Academy Radio. I've been Noah.
I've been Charlie.
And I've been Ollie.
And?
Brilliant. And Noah, Charlie, Ollie, thank you so much.
Missed your cue there to say I've been Will. But anyways,
Doesn't matter.
goodbye from Workington Academy Radio. We will see you next time on Behind the Algorithm. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Workington Academy Radio.